The September 2023 Helpful Content Update has just finished rolling out, and now that the dust has settled and SEOs have finished collectively losing their again, I had a question. Was this update even about helpful content? The answer was kinda, but also kinda not. For those who don't know, my name's Altu and I run Yukari SEO. I've been successfully growing my clients' websites and my own using SEO since 2007. And yes, I also use old photos of myself to hide the fact I'm now a fat SEO dad. I decided to analyse 20 of my previous and existing clients I've worked with over the years for my agency and while I was head of SEO at my old marketing agency. The results surprised me, but maybe they shouldn't have. Now, how I conducted this helpful content analysis and study. The first thing to say is that I'm not out here in any SEO lab isolating every single variable you can to show you the causes of why some websites got hit during this helpful content update and others didn't. In SEO, it's very difficult to prove causation. You can look at some of my findings as correlations rather than the cause. I'm working with a very small data set here, and I'm sure plenty of SEOs can and will pick holes in my very loose methodology here. Heck, I'll even do that myself. But for now, let's get into the meat and potatoes and see what I noticed. Things I looked at in the analysis. I looked for the inclusion of a few different things on each site and off-site, and then looked at how their traffic and keywords were affected by the end of the helpful content update versus before the update. I looked for the following things on and off-site. Did they have a Google My Business or a knowledge panel in the SERPs? Did they have their address displayed on the website? Did they have a phone number on their website? Did they have an email address displayed on the website? Did they have active social media accounts and had them linked on the homepage? Did they use pay-per-click, specifically Google Ads? Did they offer services or products? Did they have a blog on the website? And what was their domain authority? Then I looked at the estimated traffic before and after, and the percentage change, and also the top 10 keywords before and after, as well as the percentage change. The results. From my analysis, I concluded that none of these sites got hit by the helpful content update. Even if a few did decrease in traffic and keywords, none of the losses seemed significant enough for me to claim they were hit. More on that a little bit later. Some quick stats that jumped out at me from my analysis of these 20 sites. 70% of the sites increased in traffic after the helpful content update. Only 15% had fewer top 10 keywords after the update. Only 10% had both fewer top 10 keywords and less traffic. One of the two sites that experienced both fewer top 10 keywords and traffic only had 3 out of 6 real signals. Now, real isn't anything official, they're just factors I associate with a real business. You can call it EEAT signals, but that feels like it's become a bit of an esoteric term thrown around by SEOs who don't really fully understand what it is. Every other site had at least 4 out of 6 real signals, 74% of the sites had at least 5 out of 6 real signals, 100% of sites that saw increases had both Google My Business and their phone numbers displayed on the site. 60% of sites that decreased didn't use Google Ads, 77% of sites that increased did. 95% of sites we looked at offered at least one of either products or a service. The remaining sites still offered something of value, free digital magazine subscription. The two sites that gained the most absolute traffic, around 50k visitors a month, have a ton of horrendous blogs. We're talking hundreds, like more bad than good blogs. There was no correlation between wins, losses, and domain authority. The second biggest traffic loser had a domain authority of 41, which was the highest in the whole analysis, and the biggest winner had a DA of 13. Many sites had thin, unhelpful, or badly optimized blogs. The clients who asked us to produce content during their SEO campaigns, their content remained strong, and almost all of these pages got a boost. The thing that will immediately stick out to you about these clients that I've worked with is that they're all real businesses or brands. Yeah, I can hear niche site owners who got hit by the update saying,
"But my site is a real business."
But try ticking off how many of the above factors you've actually got included on your site. I'm willing to bet 80% plus of these sites don't have the majority of these elements included. While not one of these stats can be used to say, this is why my site gained or lost traffic, I believe it shows that Google has in the past really been struggling with identifying real businesses and real experts. And this update kind of went some way to try and to rectify that. It seems that sites, even with fairly poor content in their blogs, fared really well in this update because they were proven brands and helpful in general to the niche, providing something of value to their users, whether that's a product or a service. One thing I can confidently say is that having these real signals creates some kind of defensive barrier around your website from these types of updates, even if you have poor content? What about sites that declined? Sure, some sites on my list experienced a decline, 6 to be precise, but only 2 of them experienced a traffic loss and top 10 keyword losses. One of these sites experienced a 4.3% decline in traffic, an absolute loss of 37 visitors a month, and an 8.4% loss in top 10 keywords, an absolute loss of 4 keywords. I don't know what the threshold is for a site to be considered hit by this update, but I'm confident that isn't it. The second one lost 23% of traffic, which was an absolute loss of 2,169 visitors a month, and a top 10 keyword loss of 2.6%, an absolute loss of 6 keywords. Again, arguably the traffic loss is a fair chunk, but the top 10 keywords remain pretty similar, which doesn't convince me it was hit at all, especially when I went through the keywords in more detail. Isn't this analysis irrelevant for content or niche site owners? Maybe, but there are some important things you can learn from it. Is your brand or entity really something that Google knows much about and trusts? What all of these businesses are doing is entity stacking and letting Google know that they're a real brand. They've got their social media accounts, they've got a Google My Business, they've got their NAP on their website, and I assume plenty of citations off-site in business directories and other places online too. If your site is just sitting there churning out content, simply leveraging SEO traffic without any of these other signals, is Google really to believe that your site or business is real and not just there to make easy revenue? Are there other things that might have affected your site in the helpful content update? Yes, it's likely that there are plenty of other factors that were looked at in the helpful content update. Here are some of the other things that might have played a part. Informational topics and searches seem to now favour user-generated content sites. Niche sites are often heavy in informational content, so it's no surprise that so many got hit by this update, especially when you look at the big winners like Quora, Reddit and LinkedIn. Google seems to think that users will find experts on these forums and would prefer to hear from the people who actually use them. Time will tell whether that's a permanent fixture. My guess is that Google will look at user signals like click-through rate, their behaviour and engagement with those sites, and adjust again, or not, from there. In these cases, I actually think optimizing your content further, if it's already well optimized, is a waste of time at the moment. You're going to have to let Google ride out their decision to see if they made the right one here. Too much ad code above the fold. Now, Charles Float just dropped a really thorough video analysing some factors, and one which really intrigued me was the amount of ad code a website has above the fold. He found a correlation between sites that had a lot of ad code and scripts above the fold and sites that got hit by the helpful content update. Yeah, I know, do as Google says and not as Google does, right? We see you Google with your 4 sponsored ads in the SERPs above the fold. And Charles's finding leans in nicely to my analysis. None of the businesses I looked at had any ad scripts above the fold, as you'd expect, because they don't want revenue from ad clicks taking away from buying their service or product. Homepage being a blog roll. 95% of websites in my analysis were well structured and linked out to the various categories of products or services that the business offered. Most real businesses tend to do this well without even thinking about it. Only one was a list of their most recent posts, which was a magazine that makes total sense for that specific business, even though I'd still encourage them to optimize their homepage structure too. Have a look at your homepage. Does it make it easy for both Google to crawl and easy for users to navigate your site and get to where they need to go? Site structure, internal linking and semantic relevance. This leads nicely from the last point. Something Koray Tuberg always talks about is reducing the cost for Google when crawling your website. I can't go into the complexities of Google like Koray can, but the first thing I do is look at your site structure from your homepage to your categories and inner pages. Is every page on your website accessible from the homepage within 3 clicks? They probably should be, at least the most important ones. Are you internally linking each page of your website in a way that makes sense to send Google clues about which topics are closely related to others on your website using descriptive anchor text? If not, make a start there. So was this really about helpful content? Well, yes and no. From my analysis of these sites and the complaints I've seen on Twitter and Facebook, a big part of this update was whether you're a real brand or real business with real signals. The part that was about helpful content was Google kind of pivoting on what they perceive or what they believe their users perceive to be helpful content, which is why you saw Reddit, Quora and other forums win so much in this update. It seemed to me Google weren't looking at whether a piece of content was helpful specifically, but whether the source of that content was helpful. To wrap this up, let's look at some solutions from my analysis and others that I feel would work to recover your site. Add as many real signals around your business or brand as possible. For people who own a portfolio of content sites, in the UK, I don't know about the US, you can trade under multiple names for one company. There's no reason you can't use your registered company address for multiple different brands and apply for a GMB profile. You can also sign up for virtual phone numbers at really low cost or sometimes even free, for example Google Voice or textfree.us. It's more work but offers some more value beyond content, even if it's a free automated newsletter with a free lead magnet like an ebook. If your homepage just consists of your latest posts, think about making it a well-structured hub of all your best content and category pages. Upgrade your categories too beyond just an archive of posts. If you need examples, Juiced Boar has some cool homepage example templates that he sells. Link in the description below. Look at diversifying your traffic. Real businesses don't just rely on organic traffic. They have a social media presence, may use ads and gain traffic from brand searches, whether direct or through search. Finally, take off your rose-tinted glasses around your content and website. Google doesn't care, nor does it rank content on passion or emotion. I know it's difficult if the site in question is your full-time income, but go through your site and content with a fine-tooth comb. Does it serve the correct search intent firstly? Does it contain the entities and semantic topics Google expects to see? You can use Surfer SEO or Neuron Writer to check. Is the content truly better than your competition? Do they present data in multiple ways like videos, tables, higher quality external sources, use schema markup, etc.? Speaking of high quality external sources, I made a video about how I do this easily using an AI tool to separate my content from the competition to pull in floods of organic traffic. You can check it out here.